Welcome into Off the Hook Sports. I am your host, Caleb Calhoun. A lot to get to today ahead of Tennessee's huge matchup with the Mississippi State Bulldogs. We are going to talk about an update to Tennessee's injury report. Two more players are now listed as questionable for the game on Saturday. How big of a deal is it for each of them? Well, Joey Aguilar's veteran presence, is that a cheat code for Tennessee? I got some stats for you that are kind of interesting about veteran quarterbacks recently that might be worth looking into. Can Tennessee football clinch the college football playoff if they beat Mississippi State? That'll be bank on it. There have been 3 head coaches who have been fired midseason already. Should the Vols look at any of them to bring onto their staff as an assistant or an analyst? That'll be 4 downs. And sponsorship patches are coming to college football, apparently, possibly, in the NASCAR way for jerseys. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? That is what the HN, the college football playoff format, looks like. It might stay at 12 teams per discussions that took place yesterday. That'll be hot or cold on what the best format should be. So hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell, turn on your notifications, tell a friend. Portions of the program and the show in general is brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Play to win, why settle? Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com. We broadcast live from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln studio. Ted Russell Ford Lincoln is your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville. New and used, East Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer. Let's get rolling with the Vol report. And it involves Tennessee football injury news. One day after Tennessee football released its official injury report, which we discussed yesterday, another report came out Thursday night where Tennessee added 2 players to their injury report. Defensive lineman Marion Dye and tight end Ethan Davis. Marion Dye has actually been a bit of a standout for Tennessee this year, helping out as an edge rusher. He was supposed to be much more buried in the depth chart, but he's actually played a decent bit of time, I believe largely because of the situations on the defensive line for Tennessee to this point. Marion Dye was a highly touted defensive end for the Vols, and he did mostly just rack up garbage time, but at the same time, he has actually played a decent bit now. He has on the year he already has a tackle for a loss. He's assisted on a sack. He's got 4 total tackles, 1 solo. He is a 6'5" defensive lineman. He's obviously no Joshua Josephs. He's no Caleb Herring, but he is at 257 pounds, a guy who can see action and a guy who can help with the deep rotation that Rodney Garner likes to run. And there was potential that he could run it. Ethan Davis, meanwhile, on the other hand, is the number 2 tight end in this system to Miles Kitzelman. However, he hasn't really seen any action this year yet. He has had 1 catch for 1 yard. Both are listed as questionable for Saturday's matchup between the Vols and the Mississippi State Bulldogs. They were added to the injury report on Thursday. That is the Vol report brought to you by Hometown Realty LLC. Go to ryancoleman.org, Knoxville's best from 2017 to 2022. That's right, we're talking Hometown Realty LLC. Go to ryancoleman.org. Download the app, get instant updates, personalized searches, and more. ryancoleman.org, Hometown Realty LLC, Knoxville's best from 2017 to 2022. Now, here's the question I ask. Given the fact that Marion Dye was starting to see more action for Tennessee, do either of these questionables outweigh the positives from the report that came on Wednesday? And for the positives that came on Wednesday, Jackson Moy probable, and Jerron McCoy and David Hobbs reportedly targeting a return for the Arkansas game specifically. So those are the real big questions. I'm actually going to set that up as a poll question. And that is this: given the injury, I'll set it this way. Does the questionable status status of Marion Dye and Ethan Davis outweigh the positive injury news UT got Wednesday? I'll just say, does Marion Dye and Ethan Davis, do Marion Dye and Ethan Davis injuries outweigh the positive injury news UT got Wednesday? Yes or no? You guys go ahead and vote on that. Vote on that poll question right now. That is, again, the Vol Report. I'm going to say no. And here's why I'm going to say no. If you had to choose between Marion Dye and Jackson Moy getting ready to play on Saturday, you would choose Jackson Moy. Okay, the fact that Jackson Moy is expected to play, I think, outweighs Marion Dye specifically. You already have 3 edge rushers all on your roster: Joshua Joseph, Caleb Herring, and Jordan Ross. Although, again, we're starting to question Jordan Ross as a heart, but we know what Joshua Joseph and Caleb Herring can do. Your issue on the defensive line has always been in the middle, with Jackson Moy at defensive tackle and Bryson Eason and David Hobbs, who's not going to be able to play this weekend. Then you have guys like Nathan Robinson and a few other backups that you want to be able to go about 6 deep of regular rotational defensive tackles for the 2 guys in the middle. On the edge, you're pretty decent when you have Tyree West, when you have Dominic Bailey, and when you have, I believe, Nathan Robinson is the other one. You guys don't quote me on that. Did I just say Nathan Robinson? I did. Sorry, guys. A little bit out of it this morning. Tyree West, Dominic Bailey, and the third defensive end up front, Tyree Weathersby. That's who I was trying to say, Tyree Weathersby. So, yes, when you have Tyree West and Dominic Bailey and Tyree Weathersby, that's who you kind of want on your ends. And then you can have Dominic Bailey and you can have Jackson Moy and Bryson Eason in the middle, along with Nathan Robinson. Marion Dye being out, and by the way, Marion Dye sometimes plays that end spot on the line. He was in the rotation with Tyree West and Tyree Weathersby, too. It's not as big of a deal, him being out, when you have Jackson Moy back. Because when you have Jackson Moy back, you're going to be able to move Dominic Bailey back to the other end spot, so you're probably not going to play Marion Dye that much anyway. So with that in mind, I don't think Marion Dye is that big of a loss for Tennessee football this weekend, because of the fact that Jackson Moy is expected to return. And he certainly won't be as big of a loss if David Hobbs and Jamal McCoy are expected to return for the Arkansas game after the bye. That's a huge deal. Now, on the other side, Ethan Davis being questionable, well, I don't know what's going on with Ethan Davis. I mean, he's, again, barely been in the system or barely been used this year. Jack Van Dorslier and Deshaun Bram have actually caught more passes than he has. Now, it's been garbage time, mop-up duty, but Miles Kitselman is clearly the go-to tight end on this. They run him the whole time. He's got 10 catches for 106 yards and a touchdown. So with that in mind, I can't say Ethan Davis being on the questionable status is as big of a deal either. I think personally that the good news Tennessee got on Wednesday, and I still maintain that was good news overall given the situation, absolutely outweighs these 2 injury reports and these guys being questionable. Now, it doesn't even mean that they're not going to be able to play on Saturday too. So that's the other positive for them. And I wouldn't play him. If you got Jackson Moy back particularly, I definitely wouldn't play Marion Dye. So when you take that into account, and when you take the other tight ends who are getting more action than Ethan Davis on the offensive side of the ball, which actually is kind of alarming because then you're really questioning Ethan Davis, well, then you say it's actually not the worst news. It doesn't outweigh what happened on Wednesday. And also, particularly with Ethan Davis, the fact that he's questionable may be good news for Tennessee, because it may mean that he's not the bust that we thought he might be in danger of being, because we've been questioning why he hasn't been playing a lot. And if he's been banged up, that is good news for Tennessee. That is good news for him, because that means that maybe there is a possibility that he will still be an elite player. He's just not right now because he's hurt. So we'll see how this all plays out. But what we do know is that Ethan Davis and Marion Dye are now officially added to the questionable list for Saturday's matchup for Tennessee at Mississippi State. So the official injury report all the way down is Jackson Moy, defensive tackle, probable. Marion Dye, defensive lineman, questionable. Ethan Davis, tight end, questionable. David Sanders Jr., offensive lineman, questionable. Dwayne Morris, running back, questionable. Players who are out: Jamal McCoy, Ricky Gibson, the 2 cornerbacks, Radarius Jackson, the backup wide receiver, defensive lineman, David Hobbs, and running back, Hunter Barnes. So Moy is probable. Dye, Davis, Sanders, and Morris are questionable. McCoy, Gibson, Jackson, Hobbs, and Barnes are out. The bye week is at an appropriate time. If Tennessee can just get through this weekend, as I've talked about for a while, they can just get through this weekend. They with a win and without serious injuries, they will be in great shape. And that's where I land on that. So we'll see how this all plays out. But I think Tennessee's injury news is still overall positive for the Vols this week, given where they were last week. Portions of the program are brought to you by Chattanooga Mortgage. Congratulations, your home search just got easier. Buying a home in Chattanooga has never been easier. Chat with 2tsmortgage.com. Chat with 2tsmortgage.com. It is time for today's tough question, brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Play to win. Why settle? Banks & Jones. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com. Veteran quarterbacks in college football are becoming a cheat code that people don't realize. The last 6 national championship teams have all been in year 3 or more, were all either in their 3rd year or more experience playing college football. Joe Burrow in 2019 was in his 5th year of playing college football, believe it or not. Mac Jones was in his 4th year in 2020. Stetson Bennett was in his 4th year in 2021. I'm sorry, Mac Jones was in his 3rd year in 2020. Stetson Bennett was in his 4th year in 2021. He was in his 5th year in 2022. J.J. McCarthy was in his 5th year in 2023. And Will Howard was in his 5th year in 2024. Since the last 3 national championships have all been won with quarterbacks in their 5th year of college football. The last 4 have all been won with quarterbacks in their 4th year of college football. 5 of the last 6 have all been won with quarterbacks in their 4th year of college football, and all 6 have been with quarterbacks at least in their 3rd year of college football. Tennessee has a 6th year starting quarterback. Tennessee's offense has been at its most successful with a guy in his 4th year of playing college football in Hendon Hooker in 2021. Actually, no, Hendon Hooker was in his 5th year of playing college football in 2021. And then Hendon Hooker was in his 6th year of playing college football in 2022. And now Joey Aguilar is in his 6th year of playing college football. Are veteran quarterbacks becoming a cheat code and a necessity in college football? That is today's tough question, brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Play to win. Why settle? Banks & Jones. By T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com. I think yes. I think veteran quarterbacks are becoming a necessity in college football. And here's why. What's happened since 2021? We know the transfer portal, NIL. Now, to be fair, Bryce Young did win the Heisman in 2021, and he was just a redshirt freshman that year. That is true. But if you look at national champions, they are all veteran quarterbacks. Why is this? They don't have to be experienced with the team, but being a veteran quarterback, there are leadership development traits that come with you when you hit your 3rd and 4th years of college football, or just of college in general. You process quicker, whatever you're doing slows down for you, and that goes from football to whatever you're majoring in and things like that. I mean, guys, I'll tell you, I majored in journalism and history when I was in college. And when I first got involved, like some of the responsibilities when I worked for, I was at UT for a couple of years, working at the Daily Beacon, felt overwhelming at first. And then it got pretty easy after a while. And I will say that when I transferred, I majored in history. All the stuff I had to learn at first, and learning how history is, like how you gather information for history, which is not the way you do it in high school. I'll tell you that. You freak out at first, and then over time, you become an expert at being able to figure out things pretty quickly. It's the same with college football. It's overwhelming at first, and then the game slows down. I think with so many players transferring year in and year out, you don't have enough chemistry with your weapons to be able to bring a freshman or sophomore quarterback along to win a national championship anymore. So I think the days of Trevor Lawrence in 2018, the days of Tua Tagovailoa coming in to lead a comeback for the national title in 2017, the days of, who else are we talking about here? 2014, I believe, of JT Barrett coming in and getting Ohio State to the national title game and then getting hurt, and Cardale Jones coming in and winning it. The days of 2013, Jameis Winston as a redshirt freshman doing what he did. The days of A.J. McCarron doing it in 2011. Those days are over. Those days are over. What's lost on all those young quarterbacks who won national titles like that, they were loaded with talent around them. And you can't get loaded with talent around you anymore as a young quarterback. because of the transfer portal. Guys are going to transfer. They're going to go play elsewhere. And so it's hard to develop the chemistry. It's all of a sudden more important than ever to have an experienced quarterback. So does Tennessee have a cheat code with Joey Aguilar at quarterback? I think they do, and I want to set that up as a poll question. Are experienced quarterbacks necessary in the transfer portal age to win a title? That is today's tough question, brought to you by Banks & Jones and my T-Scott Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Play to win, why settle? BanksandJones.com.
Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com.
The poll question up, are veteran quarterbacks necessary to win a national title in the age of NIL and the transfer portal? And I'm leaning heavily towards yes, they are. And I think it's going to be a common theme going forward. You see this, by the way, with why Mike Gundy got fired. He couldn't build chemistry and rapport with the players around his quarterback because players were transferring so much and he wouldn't go the transfer portal route. It was a really big deal for him and for Oklahoma State back in the day. So when you've got Joey Aguilar, I think one of the advantages for Tennessee this year is Joey Aguilar's experience. And I know, look, I understand the sentiment with Nico Iamaleava. It's well-deserved. You know, Tennessee went to bat for him, and we all know all that. And I mean, whatever he can say, they're lying. It was about the money. That's why he left and went to UCLA, and then he's playing for less. But let me just speak real quick about the difference in quality of play between Aguilar and Nico Iamaleava. I'm still not so sure Nico Iamaleava couldn't have done what Joey Aguilar is doing, and even better. We are judging what we're seeing from Joey Aguilar as a sixth-year quarterback against what we saw against Nico Iamaleava as a second-year quarterback in his first year starting. With so much attrition that comes to a college football roster every single year, it is extremely hard for a younger quarterback to be able to establish a rapport because the game moves so much faster. When Trevor Lawrence was there, when Jameis Winston was there, by the way, they were, again, those teams were so loaded with talent everywhere that they were able to keep it close to the vest for a little while they kind of developed over as the year went on. And I mean, Jameis Winston was good from the start, to be fair. I think Jameis Winston absolutely balled out the first game on a Monday night against Pitt, but still, that Florida State team, for those who don't remember, they had so many players drafted after that year. It was insane. That team was so loaded. And when you look at that and when you take all of that into account, it's hard to be that loaded. It's actually kind of impossible now at this day and age in college football. So you need a veteran presence. Look at Georgia. Carson Beck's a better quarterback than Stetson Bennett. Carson Beck is. I mean, there's no doubt. He was younger during the national title game or the SEC title game in 2023, though. I think that was his second year. That was an issue. And he wasn't ready for the moment with Alabama. So they slipped up. These are the things that are going to keep happening now in the NIL age. And you're going to need a veteran presence. If Nico Iamaleava were in his sixth year starting and at state, no matter where he was, and didn't have a crazy family, I think he would have been in great shape. I still think Nico Iamaleava would have been great this year had he played for Tennessee. I think the game would have slowed down for him. I think would have gotten a better rapport. He already has a rapport with a lot of the receivers. I think now, though, with Joey Aguilar and his experience, the game is very fast. The game moves very slow for him. He's very quick to make a decision. Guys, we could talk about this with Hendon Hooker versus Joe Milton, funny enough. Now, Joe Milton was a fifth-year starter and was just not good and equipped to run the offense. However, Joe Milton was in his third year of college football in 2021 when they had him, and Hendon Hooker was in his fifth year. So that's why Hendon Hooker looked leaps and bounds better than Joe Milton at that point. Now, of course, Joe Milton was just not a fit to run the offense. And we talked about that. He was a fifth year in 2023 and just still wasn't good at running that offense. But at the same time, Hendon Hooker, his benefit was being extremely experienced. We've talked about this with receivers. You ever notice that receivers in Heupel's system take a year to learn it? Well, that's not the case for the veterans. Velus Jones and Cedric Tillman, picked that thing up quickly, and they picked up Javonte Payton, a transfer from Mississippi State, to pick it up, and they went rolling in 2021. I think now you need veteran quarterbacks to win a natty in college football. I think it's a new day. And the poll question up, are veteran quarterbacks necessary to win a national title in the age of NIL and the transfer portal? 92% of you say yes, 8% say no. I'm with the 92%. Yep. And I think sometimes now with so much attrition, you're going to see a bigger gap between veteran quarterbacks and young quarterbacks than you have ever seen, ever. And one of the underrated things about people overrate changing quarterbacks. It's not about the new starter with the system, because a new starter for younger guys, it's about whether or not you're a new starter. But if you're an older guy and you're experienced just playing college football, you can establish a rapport a lot quicker, which is what Joey Aguilar was able to do. Just to give you a rundown on that, it's about the age. So what I'm saying is it's about the age and the number of years you played college football more than it is whether or not you've started for that team or you're a returning starter for that team. That's actually kind of a throwback to old school college football. And what I mean by that is, let's take Tennessee in 98. Everybody thought it was a big deal that Tennessee won the national title after after Peyton Manning transferred and T. Martin got there. What's not talked about, though, and this is really important to bring up, what's not talked about in that whole scenario is that T. Martin was a third-year starter. He was a 5-star quarterback that everybody wanted. He was already pretty experienced and should have been ready to go, and he was ready to go. Now, they had to keep it close early, but I don't think that was because T. Martin was young. I think that's because Tennessee played some elite teams. They have him come right out of the gate to play at Syracuse and then play Florida the next week. So T. Martin wasn't young. He was experienced. The offense and things changed and was just different with the playbook at that time. But they were ready to go. I think you're seeing that now with college football now more than you've ever seen it. Again, it's kind of a throwback, and that's why I think a veteran quarterback is going to be necessary to win. Portions of the program are brought to you by Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection of strict standards. HempHouseChat2Ts.com. HempHouseChat2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOKED for 10% off. When we come back, can Tennessee clinch the college football playoff if they beat Mississippi State? Maybe they can. Stick with us. 2 minutes off the hook. Sports.
Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com.
Hello, ma'am. I'm here to look at that plumbing problem.
Oh boy. Yep. You're gonna need a whole new sink.
If this toilet is no good,
You're gonna need a new one ASAP.
you are not gonna believe this. You're all out of milk. Have you heard about our service plan?
I need to call Scott's.
Scott's Plumbing, your trusted neighborhood plumber since 1977.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank, life made better.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
Welcome back to the program. Hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell, turn on your notifications. It is time for this day in Tennessee football history. And it's a good one. Today is the 20-year anniversary of Tennessee's legendary comeback to beat LSU on the road on a Monday night with Rick Clausen at quarterback. For those who don't remember that game, Tennessee started the year ranked number 3 in the nation, and we didn't know who they were going to start a quarterback between Eric Ainge and Rick Clausen. Rick Clausen outperformed Ainge in fall camp because Ainge was just erratic, and Randy Sanders and the players wanted to go with Rick Clausen. Former wanted to go with Eric Ainge because Eric Ainge had the better arm. So they started Ainge against UAB and then went to Clausen, did both. Clausen played a little bit better. Tennessee won that game horribly, 17-10. The next week, or 2 weeks later, because they had a bye, they decided to start Rick Clausen against Florida. Rick Clausen struggled. They go to Eric Ainge. Then they go back to Clausen. They lose that one 16-7. The next week, they're going into LSU, who is number 4 and undefeated, with Les Miles and his first year's head coach and Jamarcus Russell. Their first game, they beat number 15 Arizona State on the road 35-31. And then they had 16 days off because the horrible, tragic hurricanes that had struck the region that year, Hurricanes Katrina and then Hurricanes Rita, forced them to not play 2 games and then to postpone the Tennessee game. So Tennessee went to play LSU on a Monday night because they couldn't play on Saturday because of the hurricane. And so they were going to visit number 4 LSU. They were number 10. Philip Fulmer makes the decision to start Eric Ainge and say he is the full-time starter. That's it. I'm done with this 2-quarterback thing. And everybody's rooting for LSU because of the whole story. And it's a good story. LSU is just, they had, the whole region had been through so much. You want to see LSU with all their fans and everybody excited get a big win. Tennessee gets there, and with Eric Ainge and a series of mistakes by the offense, they fall behind 21-0 at halftime. However, thanks to at halftime, right before the half, Tennessee switched from Eric Ainge to Rick Clausen. And thanks to some of the worst coaching I have ever seen, which is common for Les Miles, and Rick Clausen working a Bo Pelini defense that played soft zone coverage the entire second half, which I didn't get. Rick Clausen was able to lead Tennessee back on the road to beat LSU 30-27 in overtime and beat the school that he transferred from. And he did it coming into the game as the backup and told he was the full-time backup at that point. One of the biggest, most epic comeback wins for Tennessee in history. It didn't last because right after that, and for those who don't remember how the comeback happened, Tennessee on their opening drive of the second half, Rick Clausen leads a touchdown drive. Then LSU gets a field goal at the end of the third quarter. Tennessee leads a long touchdown drive in the fourth quarter. Milks about half the clock off to score a touchdown because Rick Clausen can't score quickly. He didn't have the arm. And they score, and it's 24-14. On the next drive, Les Miles and Jimbo Fisher stupidly have Jamarcus Russell put the ball in the air after he played horrible all game. Puts the ball in the air, and he throws an interception straight to Jonathan Hefney, which sets Tennessee up at the 1-yard line and allows Tennessee to score again, and that's when you knew the game was over. Tennessee was down 24-21, but you knew they were going to come back and win that game at that point. And they tie it up at 24, and then in overtime, LSU got a field goal, and Tennessee scores a touchdown with Gerald Riggs to win the game 30-27. The problem was everybody thought that Rick Clausen was the guy. Philip Fulmer went with Rick Clausen after that, and what we found out was Rick Clausen only looked good at LSU because, one, the LSU defense was so tired. They were not in shape because of all the hurricanes. The fans were lethargic. They had not been able to get the practices and the reps that they needed. They were rusty in the second half, the defense was. And most notably, Bo Pelini put on the worst defensive coaching clinic in the history of defensive coaching in that game. Because, again, he was playing a soft zone coverage the whole time. So all they had to do was have Rick Clausen make these short out route and quick slant passes down the field. And so it looked like he was making great decisions when in reality, Bo Pelini was just leaving things wide open for him. And, of course, that still would have been enough to win the game had Les Miles not put the ball in Jamarcus Russell's hands the way he did. But, no one knew that Les Miles would be that bad of a coach until later in his career and somehow luck into a national title and almost 2. He's proof that meritocracy doesn't exist in America. Okay. And Tennessee, because Rick Clausen was nowhere near as good the rest of the way, Tennessee fell to 5-6 on the year for its worst season in 17 years. But on that night, it was a legendary night for Tennessee football. This date in Tennessee sports history brought to you by Sports Treasures, carrying over 5 million sports treasures and so much more. Follow on Facebook for the best sports memorabilia, daily updates, facebook.com/sports treasures TN, facebook.com/sports treasures TN.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vols collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
It is time for Bank on It, and I got a good one for you. Given the Tennessee injury news, given the fact that they have a bye this week, if Tennessee beats Mississippi State, can they clinch the college football playoff? That's right. That's right. I'm setting up that poll question now. Can Tennessee clinch the college football playoff if they beat Mississippi State? Now, I'm going to explain what I mean by that. And now they technically can't officially, but can they effectively clinch a college football playoff berth with a win at MSU barring injury? Yes or no? I told you guys at the beginning of the year, Mississippi State's one of the 4 toughest games on their schedule. I said there were 5 tough ones specifically: Georgia, Syracuse, Mississippi State, Alabama, and Florida. I maintain those are still the 5 toughest games on their schedule. Everybody's talking about Oklahoma, but Oklahoma's coming to Knoxville. So I still haven't changed from that. And Tennessee's already played 2 of those teams. Florida is even worse than we thought. Okay, so Tennessee should be a lock to beat Florida this year. If Tennessee beats Mississippi State, and I honestly mean this question, who's beating Tennessee outside of Alabama this year? And I mean, I'm not saying Tennessee will lose to Alabama, but who has a chance to beat Tennessee outside of Alabama? Honestly, I don't think anybody does. And I'm going to go down the list in a second on how this plays out. But I think Mississippi State has the second best chance of anybody left on Tennessee's schedule to beat them, only to Alabama. So I think if Tennessee, and at 10-2, Tennessee's going to the college football playoff. I'll tell you guys that right now. Tennessee will get into the college football playoff at 10-2. And barring injury, I think they could. This is crazy to think about. But Tennessee's schedule, I said earlier in the week that it looks tougher on paper than it was at the beginning of the year. But one of those games that made it look tougher was Syracuse, who now looks like a really good team, and Tennessee blew them out. That's a quality win in their feather. Okay? It kind of reminds me, for those who don't know, in 2001, when Tennessee got to number 2 in the BCS, finally after beating Florida, Tennessee, one of the things that helped bounce them over Oregon at that time, before they blew it to LSU, by the way, to go for a chance to face Miami for the national title, was schedule strength. A big part of that schedule strength was the fact that Syracuse, when they beat them, Syracuse was 0-2. Syracuse finished the year like 8-3 and on a really hot winning streak and in the top 25. That was a big deal. Very similar to 97. For those who don't remember, Tennessee beat UCLA on the road under Peyton Manning that year, 30-24. UCLA was 0-2 at that time. They won the rest of their games to finish 10-2 and in the top 10. So it looked like it became a really big quality win. So I'm going to say that bank on it. And this is brought to you by Commercial Bank. Remember, FDIC, life made better. I'm going to break down the schedule for you and break down the situation for Tennessee, but bank on it. If Tennessee beats Mississippi State on Saturday, they will effectively clinch a college football playoff berth. You heard it here first. Bank on it.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank. Life made better.
All right, let's talk some ball. Let's talk the schedule for Tennessee real quick if they beat Mississippi State. Now, After Mississippi State, they faced Arkansas at home. Does anybody really think Arkansas is tougher than at home is tougher than Mississippi State on the road? No, they're not. Sorry, they're not. Tennessee facing Arkansas at home is easier than Mississippi State on the road, particularly when I can tell you this. It's like South Carolina of 2022 or 2023, excuse me. Tennessee's coming off a bye for Arkansas, just like they were last year. They have that game circled. That game nearly cost them last year. They don't want to do it again. They don't want it to happen again. They are going to go all out in that game. They are going to cover whatever the spread is. And it's at home where Josh Heupel doesn't lose unless he's playing Georgia. The week after that, they visit Alabama. Okay, let's just say Alabama's a loss. Let's just say Alabama's a loss. I don't think it's a written off loss, but we'll give it a loss. Okay. Because I'm doing worst case scenario here. After that, they visit Kentucky. Now, again, we talk about Josh Heupel on the road and at night. And Kentucky may be actually a better team than we thought with their switch at quarterback with Cutter Bully. However, it's Tennessee and Kentucky. Tennessee doesn't lose to Kentucky. Tennessee doesn't lose to Kentucky. That doesn't happen. So therefore, Tennessee is going to beat Kentucky. That's just going to happen. All right, let's keep going. How about this? Oklahoma at home, November the 1st. I don't get the whole hype behind Oklahoma is going to be a threat to Tennessee. I don't get it. I get they started the year great. John Mateer looked like he can run the offense. Brent Venables has a great defense. But coming to Knoxville, I trust Josh Heupel in that game anyway. And now we know John Mateer is out for a month. I told you guys this yesterday. John Mateer will not be 100% when he faces Tennessee. Even if he plays, he will not be 100%. Therefore, Tennessee is a lock to beat Oklahoma. I'm telling you that right now. They are a lock to beat Oklahoma. They are guaranteed to beat Oklahoma. Next game is, then they have a bye. Then they face New Mexico State. New Mexico State. Oh, yeah. They're really going to struggle in that one. No, they're going to blow out New Mexico State. All right, here's where I get a little crazy maybe. At Florida. Florida's an easier game now than Mississippi State. Florida's going to quit on the season before it's all said and done. Tennessee's probably going to be playing Harrison Bailey at that point and not DJ Lagway. I don't care that it's at Florida. I don't care that Tennessee hasn't won there since 2003. I think Tennessee is now a virtual lock to win that game. And then Vanderbilt at home. I don't care that Vanderbilt's in the top 20 and 4-0 under Clark Lee. It's Vanderbilt. They're coming to Knoxville. Tennessee's going to beat them. They're going to blow them out. So I only see one more potential loss on this schedule outside of if they beat Mississippi State. Now I'm going to go a little bit crazier because the whole question, can they effectively clinch a college football playoff berth with a win at MSU barring injury? 58% of you say no. 42% of you say yes. You guys are all about, oh my God, Mississippi State is an automatic win. But somehow Tennessee can't clinch the playoff if they beat them. Who's tougher than Mississippi State? Who on Tennessee's schedule is a tougher foe than Mississippi State? We'll say just Bama, Bama and OU, Bama, OU, and Florida. And, okay, we'll go Bama and Florida. You guys go ahead and vote on that. Who on Tennessee's schedule is a tougher foe, or what game on Tennessee's schedule is tougher than at Mississippi State? You guys go ahead and vote on that. I'm gonna change up the wording for a minute. What game remaining on Tennessee's schedule is tougher than Mississippi State? And we'll put games in parentheses. Just Alabama and OU, Alabama, OU, and Florida, or Alabama and Florida. You guys vote on that because I think you're crazy if you think anybody outside of Alabama is tougher than Mississippi State this year. But I'll let the audience say it. I'll let the audience vote. What games remaining on Tennessee's schedule is tougher than Mississippi State? Just Alabama and Oklahoma, Alabama, Oklahoma, and Florida, or Alabama and Florida. You guys can vote on that. It's just Alabama. It's just Alabama. And here's another key reason it's just Alabama. Let me point this out. Here's a huge reason it's just Alabama. Health. Guys, health. Tennessee is going to be healthier for its stretch run because it's not just the quality of these opponents. I just talked to you guys about the injury report on Wednesday. Jamal McCoy and David Hobbs are gunning for an Arkansas return. That seems likely now. Jackson Moy will be 100% after this bye week. Okay, so when you have and David Sanders Jr. is day-to-day, he'll be ready to go. You'll throw them all in against Arkansas to get their feet wet because they need to get their feet wet, and Tennessee's going to win that game in a blowout. And then for the rest of the way, Tennessee is 100% where it needs to be. They don't even need Ricky Gibson, the third back. He's out for an extended period of time. Colton Hood's actually better. So you got Jamal McCoy on one side, Colton Hood on the other, and then Jalen McMurray providing, and Ty Redmond being able to provide help and depth off the bench. Tennessee is going to be so much better after the bye. They're going to be so much better, and they are playing a team, and the only team they are playing that, in my opinion, will be tougher is Alabama. Now, many of you may think Oklahoma is better than Mississippi State, and I actually would agree with you on that. I actually agree Oklahoma is better than Mississippi State. Here's what you keep missing. Oklahoma's coming to Knoxville. Oklahoma will have a quarterback who's not 100%. Would you, an honest question to you guys, would you rather play Oklahoma with their quarterback not at 100% at home or Mississippi State on the road? I'd rather play Oklahoma with their quarterback not at 100% at home. This is the second toughest game remaining on Tennessee's schedule. Now, you guys somehow think Alabama, Oklahoma, and Florida are all tougher. 79% of the poll question says Alabama, Oklahoma, and Florida are all tougher than Mississippi State. That's just not true. Florida's bad. They're quitting on the season, and Oklahoma is coming to Knoxville. They're not even going to be fully healthy. They're coming to Knoxville with a hobbled quarterback. How can you guys think that Oklahoma is going to be tougher? I'm sorry. I am very big on this. I firmly believe that if Tennessee beats Mississippi State, they are going to effectively clinch a college football playoff berth. You can kiss any chance goodbye of them missing one. It's over. They're in. If they stay healthy, they're in. Now, if Joey Aguilar gets hurt, I'm obviously changing things. If anybody else gets hurt, but if Tennessee beats Mississippi State, they will make the college football playoff. You heard it here first. They will clinch the college football playoff if they beat Mississippi State. Now, Derek says the defense is so bad, home field advantage doesn't even matter. Derek, I'm not sure if you're referring to Tennessee or Mississippi State in that, to be fair, but I'll say if you're referring to Tennessee, that's not true because the home field has mattered for Tennessee in the past when the defense was so bad under Josh Heupel. And I think it's a really, really big deal. So I genuinely think Tennessee is going to beat Oklahoma at home. And Derek's fair. I want to call out Derek's making good points. And that Oklahoma quarterback has that killer mode in him. If watch, I doubt Brent Venables too. Still doubt Brent Venables. He got lucky with a good offensive coordinator and a good quarterback. Don't make him a good coach. That happens sometimes. Gene Chizik hired Gus Malzahn and then landed Cam Newton. Spent $100,000 to get him. Won a national title out of it. You guys are way too obsessed with the whole talent thing on this. It's not just who has better talent across the field. It's what's the mentality of the teams when they face off. It's the mental makeup of the teams when they play off. Well, that's the same thing. It's the mentality of the teams when they face off. It's the health of the teams when they face off. And it's whether or not it's home or on the road. This is not the NFL. It's genuinely, there are so many other factors that go into a college football game. And come on, guys, we've all watched enough college football to know that. Tennessee had better talent than Arkansas last year, and they lost on the road. Remember the Tennessee-Memphis game in 96? All right, how many times do you have to see upsets in college football before you realize better teams win all the time? Teams with better talent and better coaches win all the time, okay? It happens. It happens everywhere in college football. In 2003, Florida had Ron Zook, and LSU had Nick Saban. Florida went to LSU and won. Was Ron Zook a better coach than Nick Saban? No. It just so happened that day, again, college kids make mistakes. They don't always have the right mentality. You cannot just determine games based on talent. So many other things go into the factor. Florida will have quit on the season when Tennessee plays them. Florida will have quit on the season. They will be done. It will be over. Okay, it will be. Remember Tennessee under Butch Jones in 2017? Remember how the Vols quit on the season in 2017? That's going to be Florida. They will have quit on the season. Oklahoma's quarterback won't be 100%, and they're coming to Knoxville. Tennessee's going to beat them. Alabama's the only remaining tough game on Tennessee's schedule after Mississippi State. And this is, I talked about this at the beginning of the year. Now, I picked Tennessee to win. I picked them to cover. So I'm hedging a little bit here, okay? I'm hedging because I will be obnoxious and say I told you so if Mississippi State beats Tennessee because that's what Funny enough, that's what Steve Sullivan is saying. If Mississippi State beats Tennessee, I'll have an I told you so on my tombstone. Steve, I can't really do that because I did pick Tennessee to cover because I think Tennessee is going to take this game more seriously because they lost to Georgia and because this game's in the afternoon and not at night. The road environment's not as big of a deal. Still, at the same time, I think Tennessee is going to be a lock for the college football playoff. And the thing we haven't talked about yet, and the thing we really haven't talked about that's actually kind of interesting, is the fact that, and this is a big one, does anybody notice that Tennessee could also go 9-3 and make the college football playoff? Again, they could go 9-3 and make the college football playoff. I talked about that earlier in the week. Their schedule already looks tougher on paper. I told you why overall their schedule won't look as tough. It won't be as tough, but it looks tougher on paper, including this Mississippi State game. So if they do go 9-3, when you all of a sudden have quality ranked wins over Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, maybe. Say you lose to Alabama and Florida, all right? Or say you lose to Mississippi State, or say you beat Mississippi State and lose to Alabama and Florida. The end of the year, you're going to say you'll be able to hang your hat on quality wins over Syracuse, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and Oklahoma. A neutral site game, a road game, and 2 home games. That's how you're going to be able to hang your hat. So yeah, I think Tennessee's a lock to make the college football playoff if they beat Mississippi State on Saturday. Bank on it. I'm sticking with my guns on that. Portions of the program are brought to you by HoundDogs of Knoxville. Champions of Good and Orange. HDKnoxville.com. HDKnoxville.com. When we come back, a few coaches have been fired, head coaches mid-season already. Should Tennessee bring any of them onto their staff? Maybe. Stick with us. 2 minutes off the hook. Sports.
It's a new year, a new day, and Ted Russell Lincoln has an exciting new offer to share. Right now, get a 2024 Lincoln Navigator with 0% APR for 72 months and up to $4,000 in bonus cash. Or drive away in a new 2024 Lincoln Corsair Grand Touring with 0% APR for 60 months and up to $4,500 in bonus cash. It's time to get excited about the ride. Come and see what a luxury car experience truly is at Ted Russell Lincoln Knoxville.
Hello, ma'am. I'm here to look at that plumbing problem. Oh boy. Yep. You're gonna need a whole new sink. If this toilet is no good, you're gonna need a new one ASAP. You are not gonna believe this. You're all out of milk.
Have you heard about our service plan?
I need to call Scott's.
Scott's Plumbing, your trusted neighborhood plumber since 1977.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vols collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Welcome back to Off the Hook Sports. Hit that like and subscribe button, ring that bell, turn on your notifications. Portions of the program are brought to you by Peak IV Hydration in South Knoxville and Sevierville. Live your life to the fullest. Hydrate, rejuvenate, and elevate your health with Peak IV Hydration. PeakIVHydration.com. Link is in the chat. All right. 3 head coaches have been fired already at Power 4 programs in college football. Should Tennessee go after any of them as assistants or offensive analysts? That'll be 4 Downs, brought to you by Ted Russell Ford Lincoln, your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville, new and used, East Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer. Let's play 4 Downs right now. Should Tennessee go after any of the head coaches who have been fired mid-season to be an assistant? And we're going to play it again with me doing the Cooper Mays impression because Dave's out. Again, we will know more. I will be able to give you more updates on Dave on October the 7th. Mark that date. Or October the 8th is when I'll really know. So we'll be able to have updates on October the 8th on what's going on. But as of right now, I'm going to keep doing the Cooper Mays soundboard. So with that is, for those who don't know, Dave has a soundboard where Cooper Mays tees us off for 4 downs. I don't have it, so I just impersonated him. So Cooper Mays here. Like and subscribe. Well, thank you, Coop. All right. Coop here. First down. Coaches who have been fired. Should Tennessee go after them? And I'm going to go in the order of which they were fired. So, the first coach who was fired this year was Virginia Tech head coach Brent Pry. Should Tennessee consider hiring Virginia Tech head coach Brent Pry? By the way, I always thought Brent Pry was building a decent program. I just don't think he was very bright in game, and he made some very dumb decisions in game. For those who don't know, Brent Pry he's been coaching near Tennessee, and he has deep Tennessee ties. He played college football for a year at Maryville, funny enough. He coached at Vanderbilt under James Franklin from 2011 to 2013. And most notably, and this is the big deal now that a lot of people don't know this, Brent Pry and Tim Banks were co-defensive coordinators at Penn State from 2016 to 2020. They have worked together. There's a lot of familiarity there. Should Tennessee and Tim Banks consider bringing on Brent Pry to help work with this defense? They are both part of the James Franklin coaching tree. Brent Pry coaches linebackers. He's coached defensive linemen. I think there's a very good argument. William Inge I thought William Inge was a great hire to coach defensive line after Brian Jean-Marie left. But there have been some issues with the the coach linebackers. But there have been some issues with the Tennessee linebackers since he's been hired. I think Brent Pry is not a bad coach to consider hiring, truth be told. And so they go back with their ties to Penn State. Also, at different times, they coached at Memphis, believe it or not. Tim Banks coached at Memphis in 2001 and 2002 under Tommy West. And Brent Pry coached at Memphis from 2007 to 2009, also under Tommy West. By the way, Tommy West is a Tennessee graduate. So there's a lot of connections these two have, and I think Brent Pry could help Tim Banks in a lot of different ways for them to work together. So yes, I'm a yes on Brent Pry. Cooper Mays here. Suck it down. Thanks, Coop. You guys are going to love this one. Deshaun Foster. Oh, Lord, I'm going to laugh. All right, so Deshaun Foster, as we know, is one who pushed Joey Aguilar off at USC, who ran him off so he could go get Nico Iamaleava, who transferred from Tennessee. We now know Deshaun Foster was tampering last year to try to land Nico Iamaleava from Tennessee. He was the running backs coach who stumbled into the UCLA job because Chip Kelly left to take the offensive coordinator job at Ohio State in 2024. And Deshaun Foster has I mean, again, maybe he's a good running backs coach, but I'm like, no. Largely because I don't think Tennessee fans will forgive it because of the whole Nico Iamaleava situation. But also, and I think this is a big point, Deshaun Foster, it's the character he showed in the whole situation to run off Joey Aguilar, to tamper with Tennessee to try to land Nico Iamaleava, and most notably, to use his lackeys to sabotage Joey Aguilar's character as if he wasn't a hard worker after Joey Aguilar transferred to Tennessee. I think that's the biggest thing. He wasn't ready for this coaching job. He was in over his head, but the character part means he shouldn't even be a running backs coach at Tennessee. So no way in heck should they hire Deshaun Foster as any sort of assistant. Now, Tennessee Center Cooper Mays here, third down. You all know where I'm going with this. Mike Gundy. So, let me say this. Which Power 4 college football head coach who has been fired this year should Vols bring onto their staff? So which Power 4 college football head coach who has been fired this year already should the Vols bring onto their staff? And we're going to say Brent Pry, Deshaun Foster, or Mike Gundy? Guys, Mike Gundy would be a great hire. I'd bring him on in a heartbeat. He's familiar with Josh Heupel in the offense, with Oklahoma State and Oklahoma and the ties they've had for so long. I think that's a great one. On top of that, Mike Gundy does have a creative offensive mind, and Mike Gundy was that was Mike Gundy's offense that he developed the entire time at Oklahoma State. Let's be clear on that. Gundy was a quarterbacks coach and a passing game coordinator at Baylor during the 90s. He then went to Maryland to coach receivers before he went to Oklahoma State to be the assistant head coach under Les Miles. He has developed this coaching style. This is Mike Gundy's offense that he ran at Oklahoma State, and it's very much an air raid disciple offense. Okay, so it's a spread that runs the air raid. It's a flexible run first power spread is what it's called. Think about a little bit like the one good thing Butch Jones did, which is where he would run the spread, but it would be a smash mouth where the offensive linemen were taught to block in a pro-style setting. Josh Heupel loves to make it clear that his offense is physical. His offense is physical. They use a power run game, but the offensive line blocking is more about blocking to a place than it is maintaining your blocks. Whereas Gundy actually taught maintaining your blocks in the run first philosophy. So they oftentimes employed the pistol or the shotgun, and they relied on a mobile quarterback and a power running back. And look, I think that's a totally new wrinkle that Mike Gundy could bring to Tennessee's offense. Now, the reason Mike Gundy didn't work out at Oklahoma State, it wasn't because his offense was a problem. It was because Mike Gundy didn't want to go the transfer portal route. Mike Gundy believed firmly his offense really depended on players staying in the system for a little while. And that became a little bit tough because other people would poach Oklahoma State players, and when they would lose players, they wouldn't go the transfer portal route, and it was an issue. So I would actually go after Mike Gundy. I think Gundy, his offense on the staff, would be a huge, great wrinkle for Tennessee and be another way Josh Heupel could adapt his offense. I also like Brent Pry on the defensive side, though. Brent Pry, Virginia Tech, he and Tim Banks have a lot of connections. Tim Banks could use a little bit more help, and you might want to look at a new linebackers coach. But which of these three is the best option? That's the poll question. I'll give you guys my answer first. 4 Downs, again, brought to you by Ted Russell Ford Lincoln, your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville, new and used, East Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer.
A beacon of hope in a world of high prices. Look to the skies, Knoxville. Super savings is here. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 volume Ford dealer.
Right now, get 0% APR, 0 down, and 0 payments for 90 days on select models, plus 2 years complimentary maintenance.
Come see the super dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location, Parkside Drive, or Kingston Pike.
The poll question up. Which Power 4 CFP head coach who has been fired this year should Vols bring onto their staff? 40% of you say Brent Pry. 40% of you say Mike Gundy. 20% of you say Deshaun Foster. Who was the one who voted for Deshaun Foster? Who voted for Deshaun Foster? Come on, guys. Deshaun Foster, after what happened with Nico Iamaleava and the disaster he was at UCLA. I'm sorry. I got to play this again. Deshaun Foster should never be brought onto a coaching staff just for this reason. Here we go. I'm sorry. I'm going to play it again because it is important to bring up because it was one of the weirdest things ever that happened. And it was last year when Deshaun Foster was the head coach, first took over as a head coach at UCLA. I'm sorry, guys. But here was Deshaun Foster. This is why you shouldn't bring him onto your staff beyond the Nico Iamaleava thing. Let's go.
I'm sure you guys don't know too much about UCLA, but our football program, but we're in LA. It's us and USC. We I'm just basically excited, really. That's it. Any questions?
Yeah, that guy. That guy's who you want on your staff. Oh my gosh, you guys are hilarious. All right, look, it's Mike Gundy. My answer is Mike Gundy. It's Mike Gundy. Mike Gundy can throw some more offensive wrinkles. I think it's important more than anything for Josh Heupel to stay ahead of the curve offensively more than anything else. And I think when you take that into account, it is crucial that Mike Gundy I mean, it is crucial that you have other minds. I think a big part of why Tennessee's had success this year is we found out Jim Chaney was on the staff, and Josh Heupel brought in Seth Littrell as an analyst. Another fired head coach. It's Mike Gundy. Go with Mike Gundy. Bring him onto the staff. He can do some things for you. I just played that clip of Deshaun Foster, and somebody else voted for Deshaun Foster. Okay, who is voting for Deshaun Foster on this message board? Who is voting for Deshaun Foster? Come on, guys. And it's getting more like, guys, it's not Deshaun Foster. See, you guys should be ashamed of yourselves. Okay, I'm trying to be serious over who Tennessee should hire as a fired head coach onto their staff. And I thought Deshaun Foster for a technicality because he's one of the 3 Power 4 head coaches. I didn't think a couple of you guys would actually vote for Deshaun Foster. Come on. Is that just to stick it to Nico Iamaleava? It probably is, but it's Mike Gundy. It's obviously Mike Gundy. He's got a good offensive mind and a creative offensive mind. He flamed out this year, and it's because of how he does things off the field and also because he never bothered to coach defense. But still, it's Mike Gundy. He can give you a lot on offense. Portions of the program are brought to you by Quality Tire Pros, serving Chattanooga community since 1957. All major brands of tires, full service automotive brake alignments, oil changes, and more. QualityTirePros.com. Walk in and say, "Hey, Bo, Off the Hook Sports sent you." QualityTirePros.com. It is time for the stat of the day, and it's actually a stat that will favor Tennessee and Josh Heupel on the road. Josh Heupel, his production on the road, believe it or not, is underrated. Tennessee, since 2021, under Josh Heupel, is 3-6 on the road against ranked teams. That's tied, ironically, with Mississippi State for the 3rd most road wins against ranked teams in college in the SEC. Georgia's number 1 at 4-2. Alabama is number 2 at 4-3 if you do win percentage. And then Tennessee and Mississippi State are both 3-6. More notably, Tennessee is tied for the 5th best SEC road record since 2021. Georgia number 1 at 13-2. Alabama number 2 at 10-6. Ole Miss number 3 at 9-8. LSU number 4 at 8-8. And Tennessee number 5 at 7-9. And if we're going all out, because 2022 was the rebuilding year for Tennessee, where they had to visit Florida and visit Alabama. So that year alone, against, again, ranked teams on the road, they were, if you take out those two, they're actually 3-4 since 2022 on the road against ranked teams. So actually, excuse me, 2-4, because they did beat Kentucky on the road that year. I apologize. They did beat Kentucky on the road that year. So they're 2-4 against ranked teams on the road. What I'm saying is that, guys, Josh Heupel's not as bad on the road as you think. Now, what skewed the perception of Josh Heupel on the road is Tennessee's 27-5 at home under Heupel and 13-4 at home in the SEC. And since November of 2021, they've only lost 3 games at home, all to Georgia, and they've beaten every other team. But while they're so much better at home than on the road, they're not that bad on the road relative to the rest of the SEC. Some high-profile teams that don't have as many road wins. Now, Texas has a better record on the road because they're 2-0 on the road against ranked teams, because they don't play a lot of ranked teams, because the SEC gave them a cupcake schedule, and they played in the Big 12 before that. But beyond that, LSU, 1-6 on the road dating back to then. Ole Miss, 0-5. Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Florida, and Arkansas are all winless on the road since 2021, and LSU is 1-6. So Tennessee, while not as good as they are at Neyland and not as good as their overall record indicates, Tennessee is actually better on the road than a lot of people think. That narrative, and I actually cited, I want to cite it because I did it. It's based on an article that Adam Sparks wrote on the Knoxville News Sentinel about Josh Heupel on the road. You guys go ahead and read that. I want to give him a shout out. Adam Sparks of the Knoxville News Sentinel does great work. Stat of the day is brought to you by Joe Neuber Collision Center. Joe Neuber, for nearly 50 years, Neuber Collision Center has been East Tennessee's best choice for quality repair work and fantastic customer service. JoeNeuberCollision.com, JoeNeuberCollision.com. When we come back, we got some news about college football rules and national news that is happening, and it involves sponsorships and the college football playoff format. Stick with us. 2 minutes off the hook sports.
a beacon of hope in a world of high prices. Look to the skies, Knoxville. Super savings is here. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 Volume 4 dealer.
Right now, get 0% APR, 0 down, and 0 payments for 90 days on select models, plus 2 years complimentary maintenance.
Come see the super dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location, Parkside Drive, or Kingston Pike.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vols collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank, life made better.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Newbert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Newbert Collision Center.
Are you ready to get strong? At NFC, we offer top-notch weight training and functional fitness, so you can build strength and improve your performance. Join today at nfc1.com or stop by any one of our 7 East Tennessee locations.
Welcome back to Off the Hook Sports. Hit that like and subscribe button. Ring that bell. Turn on your notifications. Tell a friend. It is time for What the H? And it involves sponsorship patches. Yes, sponsorship patches. Ross Dellinger reports that college football and Division I commissioners are exploring sponsor patches to be coming to college athletics. According to Dellinger, legislation that would allow sponsorship patches to be added to college football jerseys as soon as 2026 could be approved in the coming months. This is coming from the meetings of NCAA Division I commissioners in Chicago this week. There appears to be strong feelings about restricting the total number of sponsorship patches on jerseys to avoid overexposure, like what most NASCAR race suits generally feature, according to Dellinger. While most jersey patches are still prohibited under current NCAA rules, Yahoo reported in December that college leaders were entertaining the idea of making a change to allow patches on football and men's basketball jerseys and possibly even on the uniforms of game officials. This is another way to allow money to come in and roll into the program. Here's the truth of the matter. Here's why this is all happening. The biggest reason is amateurism in college football was a principled stance for a while. The NCAA was holding on to it, though not out of principle. They didn't want to lose money from themselves. I get the NCAA doesn't directly pay players, but that money goes in so many, but money is moved around so much and effectively, basically, by players not being allowed to take in NIL revenue, the NCAA could collect everything from their sales. And that's how the executives and the coaches and everybody got so much money. They knew that if a player's got a piece of that pie, they would lose some of it. The fact of the matter is, nobody wants to admit this, economics is a zero-sum game. Rising tides don't lift all boats. If you make money, someone else lost money. That's how economics works, okay? And so that's just the nature of it. Now, it's the same in business and anywhere else. If you're making money, someone else is departing from money. Someone is holding the bag somewhere. Now, again, many people are willing to hold the bag. I lose money when I go to the grocery store. I get food in response to it. I get food. I get food back from it, but I lost money to the grocery store. Okay, that's how this works. So at the end of the day, they are trying to find new ways to boost revenue without losing their money so they can get players to get paid. So they can keep their revenue while players are getting paid, which they're legally required to do now. This is where the sponsorships come in. The sponsorships are coming in to help them make some of that money back. And a lot of coaches, athletic directors, and administrators and commissioners are under pressure to do it. Now, this would look like, again, NASCAR race suits is how this would look, which would be hilarious. To be fair, if you look at the NBA, a lot of them are already doing that. There's so many different, and a lot of other sports too. There's so many different things on a lot of jerseys now that people put their logos on that allows them to get paid. That's just kind of a common thing. I know that's where things are going. And you see it in, I mean, if you go to a sports arena, you see sponsors all over the place. You're seeing Neyland Stadium brought to you by Pilot now. Have you guys ever seen fences at a baseball stadium? You got sponsors all across the fences a lot of times. All right, so it's just, this is a kind of a normal thing. I don't think it's crazy to put them on the jerseys. I don't have a problem with it as much as many other people would. Once you started putting the brand on the jersey that sponsors you, this was already going out the window. Now, what does this mean going forward? Obviously, Tennessee, let's just take Tennessee for a second. Adidas is going to be on the jersey next year. They're going to be Adidas. That's going to be on the jersey. Will it be Tennessee jerseys brought to you by Pilot? Will they have Pilot on the jersey? Will they have another sponsor on the jersey that's a major one? What we know that Danny White has been out ahead of the curve on all of these things for a while. He's going to be more out ahead of the curve now. It is critical that Danny White right now jump out in front of this and figure out who he can put as sponsorship patches on his team's jersey, because this is going to be a race to the moral bottom, but it's a race to the top for winning championships in college sports. Now, I used to love this. Now I'll say this. My favorite is I love how we can do that with sponsors for college sports, but and we can do it for sponsors for so many things, but we can't do it for politicians. And what do I mean by that? Jesse Ventura once said this, and I do agree with it. I think politicians should be forced to wear NASCAR style jerseys too. And what I mean by that is whoever's the top contributors to their campaign is, whatever the companies and the corporations and the people that are funding their campaigns, they should have to wear those as brands when they're in debate stages. Just humiliate themselves on it. Why can't they do that? That way we all know who's actually funding their campaigns. And we all know who's going to get the best deals if they become president. I've always believed that. I think politicians or senator or whatever, I think politicians should be forced to wear sponsors of people funding their campaign, sponsorship patches, wherever they go. It should be a requirement. But, that's, what do I know? I'm not king. I can't make that law. But for sports, I understand it because you're already seeing it everywhere you go. It just is going to be a really weird look. What the H is brought to you by Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. Looking for affordable game day jewelry? They want to be your jewelry, Tennessee tradition. RickTerryJewelry.com. RickTerryJewelry.com.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
So sponsorship patches coming to college sports would be ridiculous. Might as well. Got to get the money. You guys go ahead and vote on that. We'll see what you guys think on it. Ridiculous. Got to get the money. Sponsorship patches coming to college football will be ridiculous. Got to get the money. I'm thinking probably it's might as well got to get the money. You already have sponsors on your jersey when you have Adidas. So I don't think it's crazy to add a couple more, particularly when you have NASCAR drivers who, like we said, they're athletes, and you have NBA players. I mean, who cares? Now, Unsung, I hope this doesn't happen. Smokey have sponsors put on him too. Oh, God, money's flowing around so much. They're going to make a dog wear a sponsor. Smokey, brought to you by Pilot. Jeez, please don't let that be the case. Please don't let that be the case. C. Sullivan, Tennessee Vols, brought to you by Jack Daniels. Would that really happen? The SEC just legalized drinking at Neyland Stadium 5 years ago. They wouldn't then at the same time, all of a sudden have alcohol sponsor their jerseys, would they? Man, that would be a change. I hope it's not I hope it's not alcohol or gambling. Look, y'all know I'm a degenerate gambler. I'm not. but I do like to gamble. I also like to drink. I don't like throwing alcohol and gambling around in such a lackadaisical way, the way we have in this country, particularly in sporting venues, and encouraging it so much. I've always had a problem with that, and I hope they don't do like Tennessee, brought to you by Jack Daniels or FanDuel or anything like that. Okay, I think that I'll just say this up front. I was always for legalizing sports gambling. I think we jumped into it too fast. I think we should have figured out how do we legalize it while tapering it as such a dangerous vice, because for those who don't know, there are a lot of young men out there who are gambling away life savings because it's such an addiction. We went from, okay, don't allow it at all, to you can do it straight on your phone. And I'm like, you should have just made it like legalize it, but legalize it at casinos where you have to go to places to gamble. That was my thought. But I know I'm going off on a tangent. I really, really hope it's not Jack Daniels. And I hope it's not any like vice. To be fair. Oh my gosh, Derek Owen, that's a great one. Joel Osteen might sponsor Texas. Somebody's going to get a megachurch sponsor. It won't be Joel Osteen. It won't be Texas. It'll be Baylor. It'll be one of those schools that like, oh my God, we're so moral, that Hugh Freeze would coach at. That's who would get the sponsor. The Catholic Church is going to sponsor Notre Dame. The Pope will sponsor Notre Dame, and Joel Osteen will sponsor Baylor. That's how that's going to work. But, I really hope that doesn't happen, guys. The poll question up. Go ahead and vote on it. Sponsorship patches coming to the college sports world would be ridiculous. Might as well. Got to get the money. It is a 50-50 split right now. I'm team might as well. Got to go get the money somehow. So we'll see where that goes. Someone asked, where does Kenneth Copeland live? Where does Kenneth Copeland live? Where is Kenneth Copeland's home? He lives in Texas. Near northwest of Fort Worth. All right, so Joel Osteen will sponsor Baylor, and Kenneth Copeland will sponsor TCU, and it'll be the holy rivalry. I mean, God, I mean the religious washing of college sports is just like, it's so sickening to me. But yeah, that I could see that happening. The Copeland Olstein Bowl. Let's do it. The Copeland Olstein Bowl. Let's throw Liberty in. Liberty's going to be Power 4, so you can get not Jerry Falwell Jr. anymore. Who's taking over Liberty? Jerry Falwell Jr. had that issue with the pool boy, and the pool boy, where he was liking to watch his wife get involved with the pool boy. Where's that? Who would it be? The TD Jakes. Yeah, let's do this, guys. Okay, since all these religious figures are like starting colleges and sponsoring colleges, and we're like, we're the moral college, and we do this, and we live our lives in a moral way. Yes. Let's just have like a holy conference. Let's just put them all in a conference, okay? And let's see who wins. All right, go BYU. Like there's a lot of Jesuit schools, so you can't do it really with Catholics, but like do it with the Protestants. So go BYU, go Baylor, go TCU, Liberty. What are some other ones? What are like some straight up? Isn't Duke a Methodist school? You could throw Duke in there, throw them all in there, have them do the Holy War, and the winner each year like gets the heavenly trophy, and when the rapture comes, they all can agree that they're the only ones who get to go to heaven and no one else does. Let's just have that. So and they all can have sponsors, by the way. They all can have sponsors of the churches on their jerseys. All right. And so we'll see how that goes. All right. I'm a SMU. That's another one. Good one, General Larsis. All right, let's go. I've gone way off on a tangent here. I understand sponsors coming to college football. It's necessary. You got to make the money somehow. Portions of the program are brought to you by the UPS Store Hardin Valley, helping individuals and small businesses, wide range of products and services, locally owned and operated. 10629 Hardin Valley Road, 10629 Hardin Valley Road. It's time for Hot or Cold, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. 50 years in East Sissy, integrity matters, and City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. And Hot or Cold is this. The future of the college football playoff format remains undecided, and a 12-team playoff is now likely for 2026. According to reporting by Heather Dinich, the CFP format remains undecided after its management committee met briefly about it Wednesday at Big Ten headquarters. The group met for more than 4 hours in a regularly scheduled business meeting, but spent about only 20 minutes talking about the format for 2026 and beyond. CFP leaders have a contractual obligation to let ESPN know by December the 1st if they want to expand the field beyond 12 teams. Obviously, to make any changes, the Big Ten and SEC have to agree on what it should look like because they have the bulk of control over the future format. They have been at an impasse for months. The Big Ten floated a 28-team playoff, but College Football Playoff Director Rich Clark is saying staying at 12 for another year isn't now facing that much resistance. His quote was, "My sense is the room is comfortable with that if that's where we go, and why they're probably not too pressed with rushing a decision. If they can find time to have a discussion and make a decision, they want to have that opportunity. They want to discuss the pros and cons for everything out there," according to Clark. They don't want to make a decision until they've done the work and put the work in and understand every aspect of the decisions they're going to make. The commissioners will likely discuss it in smaller groups. The group isn't expected to meet in person again until the national championship game in January, meaning all of a sudden, the college football playoff looks like it will be stuck at 12 teams for next year. Everybody's saying, Clark is saying that the room looks comfortable with it. Now, for those who don't know, the way the college football playoff has worked, the college football playoff was at an impasse earlier in the year because the Big 10 was strong-arming and demanding automatic bids per conference, meaning 4 teams for the Big 10, 4 for the SEC, 2 for the Big 12, 2 for the ACC. That is 12 teams already, and then like 1 at large maybe, because it was looking like it was going to expand to 14 teams. Then you had the SEC saying, no, we just want straight seeding. There was a big fight. There was a big impasse. The Big Ten said, we'll do straight seeding if you guys go to 9 conference games. The SEC agreed to go to 9 conference games for 2026. They did that under the premise of, we will do it if the College Football Playoff Committee, which is hosted by ESPN, for the event that is hosted by ESPN, where the SEC has the exclusive contract and rights deals, basically said, we'll do it if they agree to more heavily weight schedule strength, if they factor it in significantly. We'll see this year. That's a test run with a 12-team playoff. I think by securing that deal, I'm going to tell you what I think is really happening. I think the SEC now is pushing for the college football playoff to stay at 12 teams. Why is that? If schedule strength comes into play, if you have 16 teams or even 14 teams, based on what you saw last year, you won't have that many more SEC teams than if you had 12. But you will have more Big Ten teams. So for the SEC, fewer teams is a chance to ice out the Big Ten. Because let's just pretend, okay, the way they're theoretically supposed to take into account schedule strength this year, let's assume they did that last year during the college football playoff rankings. Had they taken schedule strength into account last year? And you can do a formula. The at-large teams to make the college football playoff, for those who don't remember, were Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Tennessee, Indiana, SMU. Those were the 7. I can tell you right now, had schedule strength been weighted more heavily, Indiana would not have made it, and SMU would not have made it. It would have been Alabama and Ole Miss or South Carolina. It would have been Ole Miss because they were ranked 1 spot higher. It would have been Alabama and Ole Miss would have made it. Now, Miami was actually ahead of Ole Miss and South Carolina. You weight schedule strength, Ole Miss is getting in. It would have been Alabama and Ole Miss. So if it was a 12-team playoff last year, you would have had, at that point, because there were 4 Big Ten teams and 3 SEC teams that got in. But if they had weighted schedule strength the way the SEC wants them to, you would have ended up having 5 SEC teams and 4 Big Ten teams. Now, if you go 14 deep, to be fair, at that point, you would have had also weighting schedule strength, Miami and South Carolina get in. You would have had 6 SEC teams and 4 Big Ten teams. Now that I'm saying this out loud, I'm taking it back. I think the Big Ten is the one demanding to stay at 12 teams. I think the Big Ten is the one staying at 12 teams. I'm sorry. I'm flipping it backwards. The Big Ten is staying at 12 teams right now because they are worried that expanding will just put more SEC teams in and not more Big Ten teams. I know I switched on a dime, but now that I look at it, honestly, expanding the playoff would put more teams in. So the Big Ten is holding out. They let the SEC agree to the 9-game schedule, but they won't agree to a deeper playoff. They may have played the SEC if that's the case. But what is the best format? What's the perfect number of teams based on everything that's been floated for the college football playoff? And I'm going to set that poll question up. All right. So I'm going to set it up now. What is and we're going to play hot or cold for this, but what is the perfect number of CFP teams? 12, 14, 16, or as the Big Ten said, 28. And let's play hot or cold, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, 50 years in East Tennessee. Integrity matters. cityheatandair.com. All right. I'm going to tell you if I'm hot or cold on these numbers, and we'll see what we do. Okay. Going down the list. 12 CFP teams. Hot or cold? I'm actually kind of hot on it. I understand the Big Ten's point if they're trying to do it themselves, and I would have said it with the SEC too. I'm hot on it because I just like conference races to matter. And while the SEC and the fewer teams you have, the more the conference races do matter. So I'm actually pretty hot on it. Now, what I would do is change the format. I've told you guys this. I would change the format where I would have the top 2 conference champions that get first round buys. The top 2 teams get to play at home the next week. Here's how I would do it. You have the 6 bowl games already, and you have the 6 neutral site games. And what they're trying to do is incorporate the semifinals and the quarterfinals into those neutral site games, those official bowl games. Here's how I would actually do it. I would have the 1 and 2 seeds get to play at home after their first round bye. That wouldn't eliminate bowl games, though, the 2 bowl games, because I would actually have 7 versus 10 and 8 versus 9 be at neutral site bowl games. I don't think the 8-9 or the 7-10 is worthy of home field advantage, and if it's that little of a difference. So I think you could add more incentive to play at home in that model. So that's how I would do it with 12 teams, and then I'd be really hot on it. 14 teams, hot or cold? I'm hot on that. I'm still hot on that. I understand it. You could still factor in conference races because then you're really playing for a first round bye for the top 2 teams to get a first round bye. And those top 2 teams should, again, get home games the next week. I think that's what they're playing for. And so then you could just do the top 2 conference champions get a first round bye. You put value back into the Big Ten and SEC championship games. So I'm still hot on that too. 16 teams, cold on it. Don't love it. I think that I think you got to have a little bit more to play for in the regular season. 28 teams, cold on it. I cannot believe the Big Ten suggested it. Hot or cold, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, 50 years in East Tennessee. Integrity matters. cityheatandair.com.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare. What about reducing the college football playoff? The poll question up, by the way, what's the perfect number of CFP teams? 12, 14, 16, or 28? 67 say 16, and 33 say 28. So how about this? Should the CFP expand at all? Should the CFP expand at all? We'll go yes, no. It should, what's the word? It should decrease. How about this? Number of teams should actually, guys, what's the opposite of expand? Why? No, contract. That's what I'm looking for. Contract. It should actually contract. Go ahead and vote on that. Should the CFP expand at all? Yes. No, it should actually contract. All right, here's my hot take. It should contract. It should contract. I think it should contract. Now, what am I hot on? 8, 4, or 2? I'm hot on 8. I'm hot on 2. I'm cold on 4. I think the 14 college football playoff actually was devastating for college football because it was an effective double elimination for just the best teams. So it took a lot of the air out. With 2, it's a single elimination, so the regular season matters more, and you can get a few more upset teams potentially get into the national title game, and also you're not as disappointed if you don't win the national title. And with 8, you spread out the excitement of the regular season and put a lot of value on the conference races. Because if you have 8 teams, here's how I would do it. Then it's really tough. Every game still matters because you take the top 5 conference champions and then 3 wild cards. I love 8. I've always been a fan of 8. I've always been a fan, but I'm not ever going to win that battle. But that's just me. The poll question up, should the CFP expand at all? 40% say yes, 20% say no, 40% say it should actually contract. So 60% of you are not for an expanded college football playoff. And I'm actually with you, but it will. And my dream is 12 with the fix that I said. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Play to win. Why settle? Banks & Jones up at T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com. We broadcast you live every weekday at 10 a.m. Eastern from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln studio. Ted Russell Ford Lincoln is your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville, new and used. Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer. Hit that like and subscribe button. Ring the bell. Turn on your notifications. Tell a friend. I will be back on tomorrow live after the Tennessee-Mississippi State game to recap what happened with you guys. You guys be ready to join in then. Had a lot of fun with y'all today. Thanks for tuning in with Caleb Calhoun. This has been a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.